And I think just of recent, the last report that I did to stakeholder, everybody had positive things to say about the application. I said, okay, yeah, this is good. This looked like what we're looking for. Now, the good thing I've discovered over my life implementing projects is this. If you carry them along from the start, towards the end, you don't have to fight with nobody to accept what you are delivering.
All right, Jennifer, what an episode we have today. I guess they're going to love this one. Jolly, his story is unique and not unique at the same time. It's an American dream story, if I feel like I can say that. It was a pleasure to hear, and he's just full of energy.
He is, and he brings so much to the table in his capability and in his vision, in the way that he articulates it. People are going to really, really enjoy this one.
One of my favorite moments was in the middle. We've been talking, and we almost like phrased some questions to him early on in terms of technology. Like, what's the technology? And he keeps going to the people. Yep. And then, finally he brings in how he's written an algorithm, and we find out, not spoiler alert, he's doing this amazing PhD in advanced analytics and AI. But that was just such a cool turn because he's so people first and he knows the tech at the same time.
Early on, how'd you get in? Go straight to mentorship. Next thing, straight to then how he turned around and mentored. It's absolutely ingrained into Jolly that leadership and mentorship are hand in hand. It doesn't matter how intelligent technology is. If you can't operationalize it through your people, it's dead. And he gets it, and it's exciting. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, everyone. We are excited to have Jolly Ehiabhi with us today, a rising leader in manufacturing intelligence and Industry 4.0 transformation. Over the course of his career, Jolly has grown from a frontline industrial and process engineer at a variety of companies into a key player in Otis's smart manufacturing transformation efforts, bridging the gap between traditional engineering and modern Industry 4.0 practices. He's a speaker and a thought leader, and so it's really a pleasure to have him here today. He's got hands-on experience, as you'll hear, with things like lean manufacturing, SCADA, MES, analytics, and he's helping his company drive this shift towards data-driven decision-making on the shop floor. So really looking forward to hearing about his journey, the challenges he's faced, and how he's navigating the world of manufacturing intelligence. Jolly, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure being here today, and I hope we're going to have an exciting time talking about my experience and talking about digital transformation.
Absolutely. So to kick us off, Jolly, your career path is just fascinating. You started in manufacturing, I believe in Lagos, Nigeria. You've been in Texas. You're in Florence, South Carolina now, where you're leading smart factory systems for Otis. Take us back to your journey a bit and maybe share some of the key moments that have shaped the way that you approach engineering and leadership today.
I think that's a question that I'm always glad to talk about. And some people kind of feel that I spend so much time talking about my background. Now, for those who don't know, I started out as an agricultural engineer. My bachelor's degree is in agricultural engineering. And after my bachelor's degree, I was kind of fascinated about how things work, especially machines, small machines. So I started out designing small machines. And after doing that for about 1 to 2 years, I discovered that there was a field of engineering called industrial engineering. And to me, it's kind of like, okay, is it talking about all the industry or so? So I started making research. And then that's kind of helped me to start moving towards becoming an industrial engineer. So I was in Lagos back then, many years ago in Nigeria, and I was working for a company, an oil servicing company. So I was more like onto the structural engineering career path, helping them to build different structures across Lagos, Nigeria. And when I discovered that I have a desire to become an industrial engineer, I started looking for professors and people who are key players in the industry. And I remember sending a lot of emails to them, telling them that, hey, I'm interested in your research. I just want to know what you do. I want to learn from you. And I believe back then, if I'm not mistaken, I must have sent a lot of message to at least 10 different professors who are researching on industrial engineering, manufacturing. And then just one person responded, and I'm not going to give the name. So when she responded, she told me that, hey, yeah, I'm interested in working with you. And I just want to know what are your career goals over the course of maybe in the next 5 years. And so I responded to that email. And then she told me that, okay, yeah, you can come work with me. So that's what brought me to the States.
It was agriculture engineering and you were with this contractor and then you found out about this field and researched and you outbounded. That's awesome. You reached out to 10 professors and you got an opening.
Yep.
Okay.
I got an opening. And when I came into the States, the first thing for me is that, hey, I'm here right now, coming from being an agricultural engineer. I don't know, for those who know about agricultural engineer, they're typically similar to mechanical engineer because most of the machines they design is just for farm implement and farm tools and other stuff like that. So, but pretty much for me, industrial engineer, what's this all about? I start hearing word like advanced manufacturing, 3D printing, rapid prototyping, and other stuff like that. So I was so much interested in it. Design of experiment. One of my first projects was to do a design of experiment. So I started working in an advanced manufacturing lab on also going to school to get a master's degree in industrial engineering.
Yeah.
So I did so many projects. I worked with different groups. And so for me, it was kind of a new environment, a new country, a new career path. For me, it was kind of like there's so much to learn. There was so much that I have to kind of figure out and other stuff like that. And one good thing about people like myself is once there's a challenge, you want to own up to the challenge and you want to do all it takes for you to be able to meet up with the expectation. And that was the first thing for me. So I remember back then I was working in this lab for this professor somewhere in New Mexico State.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was working in this lab, and the lab was, what they do is just, it's called Advanced Manufacturing Lab. So that's when I first saw 3D printer in my life. So just think about it.
Yeah.
3D printer, this is wow. Oh, I can have a designing model and then I can print it. This is wow. So I spent time with that machine. I think it was the Megabots. The first edition. And so
a lot of us can relate to that, right? The first time you see a part printed, you're just like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was my experience then. So I spent time trying to also understand how this work and everything. And so it was easy for me because I was really, really ready to go to work. I was really ready to put in the time. And so I was able to get the needed experience. And then I was also given projects to work on. And so those projects kind of set me in the path to becoming a manufacturing engineer. So I did some of those projects and with great team, great experience. And I think one of the last projects I did, I was made to lead the team. So that was, for me, was kind of like, okay, I can do this. You got this. And it took me into a different journey in my career paths. So after that, shortly after that, I started working as a manufacturing engineer. And I've been given the pleasure to work in Texas. I spent some time in Texas and then came down to Florence, South Carolina to work for Otis Elevator. At least I can say I have almost 15 years of manufacturing experience. And the good thing about those experiences was that I've moved from just a frontline or just a line industrial engineer to advanced manufacturing engineer. Also, I also spent time as a project engineer, manufacturing project engineer, where I will start with buying machines. And also from there, I also moved to becoming the Industry 4.0 lead for the Florence site. And of recent, now I'm the Smart Factory manufacturing engineering manager. So I oversee everything that has to do with implementing Industry 4.0 initiative across the factory. And also I also oversee a CNC programming team here at Otis. It's been an exciting journey for me. And I believe that the best is yet to come. So
that's amazing.
It's fantastic. It's listening to you talk about the earlier part of your career and finding that transition and finding that way in. I think we can all reflect back at points in our career where we're like, I think I found it. This is it. Now I'm excited, right? So I kind of want to take us back to that for just a minute. You're talking about, the discovery of industrial engineer. I'd imagine that the exciting part is actually now getting handed projects and being able to put this into practice, right? Mm-hmm. So let's go back to some of that earlier time when you got projects. Can you give me an example of where you started to tackle a major productivity challenge? Talk to me about what the problem was, how you approached it, what impact did it have, and most importantly, how exciting was it?
So I can give you a lot of examples, especially even before coming to become an industrial engineer. Remember I said I worked for an oil contracting company where I was in charge of building structures for them and also managing projects. technically, I get the design done, and I also go to the field to help manage this project. So I have been introduced to projects earlier on in my career, where I remember one of the large group I had 30 people working on a project, and I was managing them. That was when earlier on, even before becoming an industrial engineer. But the first project I did that was successful as an industrial engineer, the first one, was a design of experiments. Now, I did that. That was in New Mexico. And I had a lot of college kids, undergrad. They were there just to get grade, but I was there to make a statement. So it was a little bit not easy to work with them at first, because some of them were there just to get grade. They want to see either an A at the end of the school year. But for me, it was kind of like, hey, I have to get this to work. I have to make my customer happy, because they were part of the sponsor for the lab where I normally spend time to work with my professor. So I was given that task to help them to increase their oxygen level across their factory. So we have so many variables. So we have to play with a lot of different variables. And within that short time, I have to learn how to use Minitab to do design of experiment. And I have to also come back to these college kids, and tell them that, okay, this is what we're doing. And so it was a little bit challenging at first, but when I was able to figure it out, it was so easy. And that project was a success, because one thing I learned from that project is this: everybody has something to offer. You just have to learn how to bring it from them or get it from them. And that's what I did. I was able to use this group who were, let me use the word inexperienced as of then, and who were just only there for the grade. I was able to use them to get the needed results. So that's kind of one of the first projects I was responsible for. But after that, I've seen so many projects, and right now, to me, project is just kind of like, hey, let's finish this and let's go into the next one.
Yeah, can you take us, so you have this, using Minitab group of undergraduates, corresponding very inexperienced group, maybe to where you are today now in Florence. What's a recent example of something that you can share about the type of project that you lead? What does the team look like? What's the technology look like now?
Okay, so I'll give you more on the Industry 4.2 aspect, because of recent, I've been tasked with building a data visualization platform for the Florence factory. So we call it shop floor visualization. So this project, when we first started, to us was just kind of like, it was exciting, let's get it done. And then we went in with that mindset of, hey, this is where the industry is going. Let's go ahead and get it done. But when we discovered that, hey, you have to educate your customers, your stakeholder, about the benefit of this. So it took us at least 1 to 2 years to kind of even make a decision on what application we're going to use. So it's kind of like, hey, being the project manager, being the one who is one of the key stakeholder when it comes to the knowledge and also the delivery and the implementation. So you're talking to people saying, okay, this is what I'm doing. They are still set in their old ways. I want to use my spreadsheet. My spreadsheet is better. I understand my spreadsheet and other stuff like that. So, but after so much education, we now discover that, hey, people are now in sync, or they are now in alignment with what we're doing. Now, the first thing we did was say, we created a workshop. The workshop was a 3 days workshop for this project. We brought everybody in the room. We went through everything, all the requirements, and then that helps us to build the education that's needed, especially for the key stakeholders and also the customers. Now, in this case, the customers here for us is also people in the same environment and the same company with us. So when we are able to do that, now, when it comes to the implementation phase, now think about it. I don't have an IT degree, or I don't have a computer science degree. Some of this stuff, you have to work with people from the DT side. You have to understand their system, understand their language. For me, it was easy to do because I've been in the environment for a long time. So now what we did was that we came in with cross-functional team, right? So they were part of the project implementation. So we're not going to go look for somebody outside and say, hey, help us with this. So we decide to use cross-functional team. And for me, being the project manager, I also decided to go with the agile approach of project management. So almost every morning, my team gets to meet with me and the group just to kind of tell us what went well yesterday. Is there any impediment, or what are we going to do today? So those three questions, right? Almost every morning we get to look at it and say, okay, this is where we are. We also have a good roadmap. So I think shortly I'll talk about roadmap, again, roadmap. So that has helped us to be more successful. And I think just of recent, the last report that I did to stakeholder, everybody had positive things to say about the application. I said, okay, yeah, this is good. This look like what we're looking for. Now, the good thing I've discovered over my life implementing projects is this. If you carry them along from the start, towards the end, you don't have to fight with nobody to accept what you are delivering.
Yeah.
So some of them will even tell you that, oh, I didn't see this before. Oh, this is good. This is great. With all changes, right? You have to, when you first start, you have to fight with some folks, or you have to kind of try to help them to understand that this is beneficial. But for me, it's a learning, but at least I've seen it over and over again. I know from the very start of the project, everybody is involved and everybody has a responsibility.
I wanted to comment on that because a meta observation I had when you were talking about your own career, you were talking about small machine, and especially in the early days, small machines and that seeing the 3D printer and like discovering technology. But then I loved when Jennifer first asked you about a project in the past, you started with the people, these undergrads that you had to corral. And then you mentioned Manytab, and then I asked you about a recent one. You started with the people again. You talked about the stakeholders and the customers of this shop floor visualization project you were doing. And you kind of started and ended your story with the people of how you had to get everybody on board to adopt this. Sounds like it took longer than you thought, 1 to 2 years, but then you had their buy-in. So that was a cool journey for sure.
Yeah, maybe that's the industrial engineer in me. Industrial engineers are more concerned about the people because most times your process doesn't work effectively without the people, right? Because we build processes as industrial engineers, but without the people, really you kind of like you are at a disadvantage, right? So you always have to educate the people, carry them along, and be sure that you're offering value to them. And I think that's why we do what we do.
I think it's spot on, and it tracks exactly with what we see across our customers and our colleagues in that the people first is the biggest challenge. I think it's the biggest piece. It's the biggest indicator of success in these projects. So I want to talk about that for a lot of our customers and listeners. Starting the manufacturing industry, the Industry 4.0 journey. On the one hand, I think they feel like they've been on this for quite a while, and on the other hand, we hear a lot of people that are like, yeah, but I still just feel like I'm just starting. And I think it comes down to leadership. I think it comes down to vision and articulating the vision, but it really does at the end of the day come down to assembling those teams. And you've talked a lot about that. Let's go back and talk about that a little bit. Are there specific ways that you have found successful in grouping these teams or these cohorts, or however you have assembled those projects within your organizations to be able to navigate some of these projects to success?
So for me, the first thing first is just kind of like, that's why I said later on we'll talk about the roadmap, right? Because we have a roadmap, and the roadmap kind of help you to know who is going to be benefiting from what you're trying to implement, right? So once you know who's benefiting from it, you kind of know who to pull in. Because as a matter of fact, when I did a workshop for one of the projects we had, normally I try to create a workshop just to have everybody in the room. And after that, I'm just going to tell them that, okay, based on what we're going to implement, since you are not getting direct benefit from this, probably you might not be part of the project team, but when we do the report outs or stakeholder review, you'll be invited into it. So for us, more so we look at the benefit. We look at the benefit. Are we trying to increase efficiency? Are we trying to increase throughput? Are we trying to reduce on-time delivery? So for us, it's kind of like, hey, what's the end goal? And that helps us to pick the team and also to help us to bring the right people in the room. And especially with, I know for those of you who have been in the field of Industry 4.0 implementation, you cannot do without the DT. So for almost every of this implementation, you have to bring the right people in, right? Because you also have to learn how to set the priorities.
DT, are you using that like digital technology? That's like
so that's our digital technology, and I think that's
a good word. It's like applied. I've seen that more commonly, but I don't think everybody's doing that. So it's like applied IT, right?
And those are the guys you really need. And so what we've done is this. I'm a project manager for the whole project. We're going to have somebody on the DT side, on the IT side or DT side, who is also a project manager for what has to do with their system, right? So that you don't end up talking to a developer. Most developers have a lot of projects for them to develop, but they don't really they are not really part of the team when it comes to, they are not responsible for the team, right? So you have to get somebody who's going to be the spokesman for them and who's going to help them to also align their priority to what's the end goals of the projects. So that's what we've done. So for us picking teams, we're going to have our customers, which is more for me, majorly is the production folks, those who actually build the product. And then I also look at every other person. And then sometimes when I have to work with suppliers, right, I involve all my suppliers on my daily Scrum meeting. So if you're going to be a supplier to, or if for one of my projects, you have to get me somebody who's going to be available every day of the week, at least for 10 minutes. Because I don't want nothing to go south without me knowing, right? Because I don't want to tell you that, hey, we're getting this done in a week. And then at the end of the week, you tell me that, oh, I have something pressing from another customer and I was unable to help you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we pick the sim. Jennifer, I don't know if that answers your questions.
Yeah, no, we could talk about that all day. So I completely agree with that.
We're going to bring AI in here.
Okay, chat, I want to ask you a quick question. Jolly just mentioned DT, referring to digital technology in manufacturing. Can you give me a quick synopsis of what that is and how people are looking at it in manufacturing and some of the opportunities that it provides in the next 12 to 36 months?
Digital technology, DT, in manufacturing refers to the integration of advanced digital tools, systems, and processes to optimize operations, enhance productivity, and enable smarter decision-making. This includes technologies like IoT, digital twins, AI, machine learning, and advanced analytics. How it's being used in manufacturing. IoT for connectivity. Sensors on machines collect real-time data, improving visibility into production processes. Digital twins, DTs.
I mean, so the good news is we're learning that, generative AI seems to understand our space pretty well, can do a lot of guidance on understanding. And there is a lot to be learned from it. I actually want to pivot and talk about some of the improvements that could be had on that.
So, Jolly, you're the kind of person that so many organizations wish they had. You talked about how you've picked like agile methodology to run these meetings. You're just talking about how you have suppliers and a Scrum meeting and they need to come in. And like, if fundamentally what you're doing is like building a nuclear plant, then a waterfall meeting, one step at a time and tons of checks is what you need to be doing. And when you're trying to do digital transformation, agile and back and forth and everybody talking and aligning is exactly what you need. And so it's just inherently obvious to you, you've adopted that, digital way of doing meetings and your people first. Now, talk to me about, I want to go kind of to the topic of data integration, but coming from the people side, because if you're doing a transformation project where the technology, let's say, is a spreadsheet, like let's get everybody to start writing down their action plans and sync every week. Nothing should block you about using that spreadsheet. It should be only people. But then if you're trying to integrate data from existing systems, legacy machines, there are a lot of things in that DT team and the digital that could block you. How have you seen that play out? What is your view on integrating new and legacy systems, and how do you kind of successfully go through some of these hard technology challenges without that kind of wrecking into this great teamwork you've created and that people first, mindset?
So for me, it's more on really having the knowledge of what machine are you trying to improve, right? Because when you say legacy, right, some people, to them, it's almost like machines that are 30 years old, 20 years old. Yeah. Right. So for some, it's just machines that are 15 years old. Now, I have had both experience. I've had machines that are 2 years old, but they don't really have that connectivity in them. Yeah. So you just have to kind of know what assets do you have in your shop floor. So I'll give an example. Some 4 years ago, during the COVID time, I was trying to get data from a machine. By then, the machine was about 15 years old. So now the machine should be about 19 years old. There was no way to connect to that machine. There was no way to get information from it. Now, but the good thing is this, with this age and time, a lot of companies build I/O boards. They build boards like where you can really tie it to the control system of the machine, and then you pull your information. I have also done that, right? And that's the easiest way for legacy machine, or that's one of the ways to get information from legacy machine. And each
the IO box into your control system and your SCADA. And you made a great point too, that sometimes people just say new and legacy and they mean different years, but like a new machine can be hard to connect to. So
I'm speaking from experience because I know we had a machine that came, it was just installed last year. I still don't have that connectivity in that machine.
Yeah.
To us, it's new. We didn't buy it to use, we bought it new, but the manufacturer of the machine said, for this model, we don't have this available. So you still have to find a way of connecting and getting information and other stuff like that. So for us, pretty much most of those legacy machine or machines with this kind of configuration, you just have to find a way to navigate through it. And for us, we don't really sell IO board and other stuff like that. We have to get suppliers, right? We have to get people who know what they're doing, who know how to connect onto this machine. Like you always already tell, I get to talk to suppliers almost every day for different products. So sometimes I just kind of figure out, okay, this is my machine and this is what these guys are offering, and they are able to do it, and I work with them. For me, I've had experience using the IO board to get information from those machines.
Yeah.
And also I know I went somewhere, I saw some people who are getting information maybe through, they use I think they use vibration or something like that. I don't know how they do it, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
on
not
sensors, yeah.
Yeah. So so for me, it's also another way to do it. But that's my experience. But for the new
Let's ease
machine,
back into your supplier meeting too. So there's add-on sensors. It sounds like that's not a path you've taken so far, but you've done the IO box and you've been able to go back to legacy. You've got a new machine, but I guess maybe it all goes back to what you said about making sure your supplier, you know which machine you're actually trying to connect versus just all of them. And then you've got the right supplier in that meeting who can actually show up and talk and you can work together piece by piece, because it really is like that, right? It's like there's a panoply of different technologies you can use, but which is the one right now, and do I have the right people at the table, right, to drive?
Definitely. That's what I'm always looking for. And sometimes I tell some supplier, I said, I know you have a product to sell, but if I buy a product for you I can't use, I'm not going to call you back again for the next. So just remember that, hey, this is my situation. Help me if you can help me. And that if you have a solution, I will know it. You don't have to preach too much. I can say it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm hearing, a lot of the challenges. How do I balance running the factory with transforming my factory and making sure that, the one doesn't come at the cost of the other? I want to talk a little bit about building in that digital thread, building in that digital, sometimes we call it the digital fabric, the namespace, the building in that digital infrastructure that we can work from. And we think about the use cases for that being valuable for the shop floor. And I think that it's the same way we need to be thinking about AI for the shop floor. I mean, those are the same things we're trying to solve. AI should just be accelerating it. So go a little visionary for a minute. As you look at that, if you look at what you're trying to build, what you're trying to accomplish, getting this digital thread in place, how do you see that being accomplished, accelerated, or totally transformed or changed as AI starts to make its way into the shop floor?
I think that was 3 years ago. I wrote an article for an organization. The article was abnormality detection for time series data sets. So now some of those data sets were coming from machines that we have, and those are sensor data, right? Because they are time series data, and it was multivariant time series data sets. So now, why was I doing this? Was kind of trying to get us through predictive maintenance, being able to predict defects in machines and other stuff like that. Now, so I did that research, and I also came up with an algorithm for that purpose. Now, why this is, for me, it was easy to do it, but the average manufacturing engineer who is trying to make sure efficiency is good, make sure that they have productivity going and other stuff like that, they might not have time to do such kind of research. But for me, I believe digital trend for us is going to be on a fast pace within a short year from now, because a lot of companies are now looking in that direction. And I don't know if you know that about 90 to 95% top level executive for companies, they believe that digital transformation is going to be very crucial for the success of any business. So about 90 to 95% of them, that's what they believe. And they believe so. Andrew will tell you, I know Andrew is part of those group, right? They believe that, hey, digital transformation is something that is going to be very crucial, because time is going to come whereby you want to buy a machine. You say, I'm not buying this machine if I cannot connect to it, if I cannot get information from it. Time is coming whereby somebody will tell you, because 15 years ago, as an engineer, you must learn how to use a spreadsheet. Of recent, some people come out from college, they understand the spreadsheet and the rest of that, but they are talking about Power BI. They're talking about stuff that is that does a lot of more analysis than what you get in Excel. right? So definitely, I believe that the industry is trending towards digital transformation faster than we can think of. And also, about 75% to 80% of organizations are currently under digital transformation. It's either they're talking about it or they are implementing such solution, or they are also kind of just actively looking at it and believing that, okay, this is going to help us. And then on the other side again, we notice that company can increase their revenue maybe up to 8 to 9 to 10% if they are able to implement digital solutions. So when you look at those analysis, you come to ask yourself a question. If you're a business owner, that, hey, I don't have a choice. I just have to go with what is happening in the industry. Because in the industry today, nobody wants to do more work than needed, and then you get little for it, right?
Yeah.
So you want to optimize your process. You want to keep on, and you want to reduce waste. I'm always going to talk about reduction of waste. And also, you want to also increase your on-time delivery, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to get the product when it's needed. So I believe that, hey, what we're seeing right now is just a start of good things to come. AI, machine learning, deep learning, it's gonna take over the industry.
There were so many things to unpack in what you just said. And I think for anyone listening too, they could be forgiven for, if they were listening to you up to this point, they were like, man, so Jolly was agricultural and then he's industrial and then he's all people first. They might not guess that you're doing a PhD program right now in advanced analytics and AI as well. But suddenly you launched into how you were building an algorithm for predictive maintenance, right? So I love that. Yeah, definitely don't forget your, I know you won't, but yeah, don't forget your people first approach as you get so sophisticated in your tech. Yeah, what you said at the end there, like 8 to 10%, revenue opportunities, and just like people have to do this and it's really clear. And then balanced back with what you said before, which you were like, when you were talking about which machine am I improving right now? And I don't want someone to sell me something I'm not going to use right away. For example, I don't want to just buy an upgrade on every machine and build a digital twin that I'm not even going to make any use of for 2 years, right? But then on the other hand, what drives this transformation? So that's just kind of exactly the dilemma that we're all in the middle of, and it seems like you're navigating it really well. I guess let me go to AI again.
Hey, chat, I want to ask you a quick question. We have a guest with us here on the podcast today that just mentioned the high percentage of companies that are already undertaking digital transformation initiatives, like 95% of businesses and companies are undertaking that. He also mentioned that, 7 to 8% returns on increased margins. Can you tell me what you think digital transformation presents as far as opportunities for increased revenue and increased profit, specifically on things like downtime for manufacturing? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Digital transformation offers enormous opportunities for increasing revenue and profit in manufacturing, especially when it comes to reducing downtime. Here's how it drives value. 1, minimize downtime. Predictive maintenance enabled by IoT, AI, and real-time analytics can identify issues before they cause disruptions. This prevents costly unplanned downtime, which is often one of the biggest drains on productivity and profit. A well-optimized system can achieve uptime improvements that directly boost revenue. 2, operational efficiency. Digital tools streamline workflows, eliminate bottlenecks, and optimize resource use. For example, digital twins allow manufacturers to simulate production scenarios, reducing trial and error inefficiencies. 3, increased margins. As your guest mentioned, the ability to achieve 7 to 8% increases in margins comes from leveraging data to make smarter, faster decisions. Automation and analytics reduce waste, improve quality, and enhance throughput, all contributing to better profitability. 4, faster time to market, digital transformation.
So, we can learn a lot more about that. I think it jives perfectly well here with what Jolly's talking about. The IoT technology, particularly with predictive maintenance and predictive guidance, we are definitely seeing that, of course, in our industry as well.
When you think about use cases with AI, maybe your answer is predictive maintenance. You said that already, but maybe it's a different one. What are the use cases that you are actually truly impressed with so far that go beyond just visualizing data? You mentioned Excel to like a Power BI to like you get more sophisticated visualization, but what are the use cases that you are already kind of taking to heart and you see really hitting hard versus, others that, you kind of think the jury's still out on those?
So real-time monitoring, right, is kind of the best use case for me, right? Because of where I work.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, some 7 years ago, I was made to kind of always go to the shop floor, go to the line and find out what's happening, just to kind of get an insight of what is happening. Why is the line not running? What is going on in the line? But once we started implementing some real-time monitoring solution, because connectivity was easy for us, I think we had an easy way of connecting all our assets in the shop floor. So I now discovered that, hey, my real-time monitoring was as accurate as me going down to the shop floor. Now, I'm not encouraging laziness for the young manufacturing engineers, but I'm just saying this is a tool that kind of gives you more insight. If you have to go back to the shop floor to ask them, okay, what's going on, you can do that. But the most important thing is this: you have an insight of what is happening. So for us, the best use case so far, we've been able to kind of monitor our asset in real time. And at the end of every shift or at the end of the day, we kind of get our production throughput in real time. And then we auto generate reports to send to key stakeholder. So, so for me, that's kind of one of the good use case. Now we're moving towards predictive maintenance, right? Like you said, but for right now, the best use case for myself and the customer, I'll always talk about the customer, because they are the one that is going to give the feedback, is the real-time monitoring. That seems to be exciting. That seems to be very, very, very beneficial to what we do day to day, day in and day out.
Yeah, real-time monitoring, it works, right? It completely works. It can be trusted. Like you said, you're not telling people to be lazy, but sometimes people are lazy in the other way, right? They go, I can't trust that data. So like it's like, no, this can be done properly. You can really trust this data and drive faster decisions, right? With the customer, with more stakeholders, right? And then I guess go one step beyond real-time monitoring. Like, if it costs nothing and you could just have it today, like what do you wish you could have in your factory?
So predictive maintenance will be what I wish I can have, because I'll speak to this because I've seen our maintenance team some time back. I asked them to give me a log of all they fixed in the machine, and then they sent me an Excel document that is very long for at least all through the year. And then the next question that came to my mind: how do you know it's time for you to change your belts? How do you know it's time for you to? Yeah, they said, yeah, based on this, it's kind of like we are being reactive, we're not being proactive. So for me, predictive maintenance is going to be something that I believe that if we can get it right, it's going to save a lot of assets, because some of those, I work in an industry where some of those machines they are in the millions. We pay millions for them. A downtime can cost us a lot of money. Now, downtime costs companies a lot of money, because when you look at lean manufacturing, when they start talking about downtime, right, there are so many things that can cause downtime. And once there is wait in your process, that you have to wait for you to start the next process because the machine is broken, or so definitely that's you wasting money. And if I can prevent that from happening, right, with a solution that gives us predictive maintenance, I think a lot of companies will be glad to jump at it. So that's kind of what, for me, that's what I'm looking at. As I think predictive maintenance is going to be something that's going to be of greater benefit too.
Yeah, completely agreed. And I think it kind of dovetails into what I'm thinking about as you're talking is, one of the biggest hurdles with DT is ensuring that, we talked about this a minute ago, ensuring that the people on the floor trust the technologies that you'll put in their hands so that they'll adopt it, right? You talked a minute ago about the 7 to 8% improvement in margins that they're seeing. And we're all seeing the research that is consistently showing that the payback periods are dropping, and they're dropping pretty quickly. So that's creating even more urgency for leaders to get these in, get them adopted. There's a trust level there. So I think some of that is tied to, like you said, vision and excitement from leadership. I think it really does come from there. As you're looking ahead then on accelerating adoption, what are some of the technologies that you're getting excited to bring into the factories next?
Okay, so I think I started working this year, 2024. I started working on building a digital twin for our factory. It was good at I have the knowledge, I can do it. I have all the element that's needed to do it. But I only discovered that most people are not still kind of used to making use of that creation, right? So I have a digital model of a factory. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of like I'm one of the few that make use of that. So what I want to accelerate is to get a factory like you all know, that twin can mean so many things to different people. And I think I've been given the pleasure and the honor to speak about implementing digital twin in two different manufacturing conferences. And for me, I understand the benefit. I know it's going to be great. It's going to be good for top level executive who wants to kind of see, okay, 2025, we started 2025. What am I going to be? What's going to be my productivity all through the year, and how can we really make some good focus and be accurate at least to some extent, right? Stuff like that is going to help us. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at accelerating, if possible.
Fantastic.
All right, Jolly, let's do our rapid fire questions. First, is there a book, movie, or TV series that inspires you when thinking about the future of manufacturing?
I don't have a specific book, but I think there's a book I read many years ago, which is called Think and Grow Rich. And I think that's kind of what has propelled me and guide me all through my life to know that, hey, if it is possible for humans to do it, I want to be one of the few who can do it.
Which leader or innovator in technology, engineering, somewhere in that space, do you admire greatly or the most, and why?
I admire Steve Jobs, right? Because I saw one of his recording and he was talking about how they started and how they were able to make a call to the Pope back then. I don't know, for those who have watched that recording. And so to me, it was kind of like, wow, some people are actually thinking that we all are giving big brains, but few people make use of those brains, right? So I think since then, I've really followed a lot of stuff that happened during his time, his life, and also how he started Apple and how he lost Apple and later came back again, right? So pretty much, I think if we're talking about in the manufacturing space and in the engineering space, I think he's one of those guys I will be glad to kind of learn more about.
Another great book, the Isaacson documentary of Jobs' life. So, question 3 for you, Jelly. What piece of technology outside of manufacturing has had the most impact on your life, and why?
I was thinking about that piece of technology outside manufacturing. I think everything has a touch of, when you talk technology, it has a touch of manufacturing, right? I love cars, so I don't know if that's going to be an answer, but the most important thing, I was telling my wife the other day, I said, I want to build a car that has not just a microwave, that also has a fridge in it, and also where you have your glove box, and you just open it, and then the same compartment, it can be like your microwave, and also you can also turn a button and it becomes your fridge. And that's just especially those who go for long trip. I know we have RVs, right? But I'm just thinking.
That's cool answer. Car transform your life. You're like, and I want to see you go further. That's my idea.
I think you have a built-in customer base already. I think you should do it. This might dovetail into my question next, which is, if you could instantly acquire any new skill or knowledge area, what would it be?
So for those of you who don't know, I speak at different conferences, but I also preach, right? So just for those of you who don't know, so maybe probably a lot of people will go Google my name, and then you discover that I'm also a preacher. But for me, I have always wanted to be a good singer. I want to sing. I want to be able to play maybe the guitar and the why I sing and other stuff like that. So now I have kids and I'm kind of putting them in classes where they get to learn how to use musical instrument and other stuff like that. For me, that's my goal and my dream. Maybe someday I might become a music star.
It's fascinating.
You're a beautifully rounded person. It's been awesome. Cover all this stuff.
I can agree with that. Unfortunately, I'm going to insert this. I have perfect pitch, and which is great for some certain things. It's terrible because I'm not a good singer, so it's painful. Instruments, piano, great. Singing, it's painful.
Jolly, in a few words, what advice would you give to young engineers, operators that are starting out? They've been inspired by your story. Like, how can they follow a path like yours or their own path from where they are today?
Yeah, I always say this, it's good to have money. It's good to go after the money. But remember, right, nobody pays you more than they pay themselves. right? People want to pay you based on what they think you can bring up to the table. So as a young engineer, I'll always say, get the needed skill, get the needed qualification, because the day a man is planning to help you, he's not going to give you an excuse why he can't help you because you don't have what you're supposed to have. So spend time, get the needed skill. If it's going to take you time, hey, time is given to human to spend. So spend it and get it. And then when it's time for it to show up, you will definitely show that you have what it takes to get to the next level. So I always say that to most young engineers, because I've had the privilege to interview and to hire some of the young folks. I always tell them, we can give you all the money you want, but remember, I can only do that once. If you don't have the required skills, I'm going to look for the next person.
Great answer. Jolly, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's also a privilege to be with you guys today and to talk about my experience and some of the cool stuff we've been doing.